Aloha mai kako and welcome back to another book review. I am Mama Kitty and today we are going to be discussing Dead by Dusk by E.C. Hill. I do want to say before we get into it that I think I wasn't in the right headspace for this book. So like I liked it, it was fine, but it just didn't hit the way that I would have expected this kind of book to normally hit. So I just want to put that out as sort of a disclaimer because it does sort of color my review a little bit. With that in mind, the Goodreads synopsis is as follows. 6 assuming strangers, 5 have no memories, 4 become hunted, 3 were friends, 2 are lovers, 1 is lying. Something is very wrong. Easy enough conclusion to come to when you wake up in an unfamiliar house, have no memories, and you're covered in bruises. Easier when you're not the only one in said situation. When Celine finds herself in these exact circumstances, she knows that she needs to find a way out. Working together felt like the best option at the start, but when she finds a hidden dagger, one exit, and is given a warning not to trust anyone, she decides then to do exactly what she was advised to do: run. But her returning memories are telling her a different story, something more complete, something complicated and dangerous. Will she regain all of her memories in enough time to end this deadly hunt, figure out who the traitor is, and protect her heart? Or will she only live long enough to burn with the rest of them? Now, I want to reiterate that I didn't dislike this book. It was a little bit predictable as far as the traitor, the lying mechanics go, but overall, I think it was a good book. It was very like Hunger Games meets Battle Royale, if you can kind of envision that. I did think the concept was very interesting, though. Steal people's memories, throw them in a house together, send killers after them. Great, what a lovely start. Definitely a 10 out of 10 start. But the predictability of the story sort of made it a little bit like tedious. It's like one of those stories where like the clues are right in front of you, right? The reader can see all of these clues, and so we're wondering why the main character, who is clearly much smarter than we are, doesn't see the clues. You know what I mean? It was like one of those kind of things. And so it was just a little bit like, ugh. But I guess it's not particularly unique to this particular kind of story. So anyway, we meet our main girlie, Celine. Love her. Very kick-ass, much hardened warrior with a tragic past. There were moments where, like I just said, right, where she couldn't quite see past her nose to see the very clear clues, or what I think are very clear clues, that are standing like right in front of her, very much like, come on, girl, like it's right there. But that's not an uncommon character flaw, so it's kind of like whatever. I adored her adoration and commitment to the other woman in this story, Carmen, and it really added to Celine's humanity. Which does start to sort of come through as she gets her memories back, but that relationship between her and Carmen is really what made it clear that she isn't just this hardened warrior with a tragic backstory, right? That she's more than that. And that was something that I did appreciate. We also got to see some of her humanness from the other like POV character. Right? There's the two main characters because it's just one of those. It's funny because it's an action romance, which I think is interesting. But anyway, so speaking of the other POV character, Ronan was a babe. 10 out of 10 character. Loved him to death. Another one of those completely obsessed with their heroine character, and I just adore that. He didn't, however, have much of a character arc, or at least he started out as a good dude, and he ends as a good dude, and it just kind of like like, don't get me wrong, I think that there could be this world is hurting for good dudes, right? But he just felt very stagnant. And like, again, I've really liked his character because, for those of you who've been here before, you know how I feel about a male character who is obsessed with his woman. And if you are new here, welcome. I love that shit. Overall, he was pretty great. But I think that maybe this genre just wasn't the right genre for him. I don't know. It was like a weird, he just kind of felt out of place. Something didn't quite sit right. And I wouldn't be able to explain it to you. That's just kind of how it felt. The other characters were fine. I enjoyed Carmen. She was another, didn't really seem to have a lot of growth throughout the story character, but I did like her. She was very sweet and she was little and perfect. That I so desperately wanted her and Celine to fall in love with each other. But that wasn't this kind of book. So, I'm sad. Adonis and Nate were fine. I mean, like, I didn't mind Adonis. It was just we just didn't really get to know him. Like, I love a good big hulking dude guy, but it was just, I wish there were more to him than that. We did get a little bit of that later on in the story, right? A little more insight into him, and that made him even more on the good-ish side of the character scale. But overall, we just never really got the chance to know him. I do acknowledge, however, that there is a possibility that that was intentional from the point of view of, like, Celine and Ronan weren't necessarily the most reliable characters, right? They're not the most reliable narrators. Um, Celine gets blinded by her rage and her bloodlust, and then she's obsessed with Carmen, right? And Ronan is obsessed with Celine, so it's very there's just they don't quite have the capability to look beyond what matters only to them, to have seen or let the reader get to know everybody else, if that makes sense. And now I don't know if that was intentional. I'm going to go out and say that it probably was, maybe. But again, it was just, I think Adonis had the opportunity to be a really interesting character, and it just wasn't meant to be. Nate, on the other hand, I didn't really like. It was clear from Celine and Ronan's POVs that we weren't really meant to feel much about him, right? That he was a little bit weird with his kind of thing with Carmen, but that otherwise he was just kind of like this background character. And that's all I'm going to say. Overall, this book was fine. It was a good book. I thought that the way Hill described emotions was really interesting, right? It definitely brought the emotions high for me. I also thought that the action scenes were kind of interesting, almost level, like genius level. And let's just say I took notes as someone who struggles with action sequences. I'm going to be generous, mostly because it wasn't a bad book. In fact, I think it was a good book. I just didn't like it for me issues. So I'm going to give it what I think it deserves instead of what I would have rated it otherwise. And I'm going to give it 4 stars. Will I read it again? Kind of give it that, or give me a second try at kind of enjoying it? Maybe. I don't know. But if you like Hunger Games, Battle Royale, and action romances, this is definitely for you, and I honestly think you would love it. The next book that we're going to be reviewing is called Off the Ice by Emily Campbell. For those of you who've been here before, you know that we've reviewed her before. We're in a little bit of a time crunch because aren't I always? So this, yeah, these will be coming out in quick succession. Off the Ice is another arc that was given to me, right? So that, you know, we will do as we do with that. If you're interested in more arc reviews, there's lots on the channel right now. I am also planning on diving into more popular novels in between my arcs. I have to catch up with Campbell stuff, and then I'm going to take a break from arcs and read popular novels. And then we will be reviewing those as we go, and then we'll be getting back into the arcs and yada yada yada. We have lots of plans. It's just about trying to restructure our timetables. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and press that notification button so when Off the Ice comes out and the next one after that and the next one, etc., you know when they come out and you can be here before everyone else. If you'd like to follow me elsewhere, I am Mama Kitty's Lounge on TikTok. I am Mama Kitty's Lounge on Twitch. I am Mama Kitty on Instagram. Come say hello. That is all for today as far as this review goes. I know it was very short, but thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If you're new here and you're coming back later, I'll see you later. If you're not new here and you're coming back later, I'll see you later. Otherwise, have a great day. Mwah! Bye!